right, guys, we lost you there for a second, but we're coming back to the hermit crabs. Like I was saying, hermit crabs live in the shells of snails, and you can commonly find these guys certainly here on Dauphin Island's beaches, around the rocks. They'll crawl around and eat the algae. You can see their little antennae sticking out, and they're crawling around on those little legs, but the rest of their body that's coiled up inside that snail shell is actually really soft and kind of vulnerable, and so they keep it tucked inside that snail shell. So a hermit crab is going to move from shell to shell, but the snail that made that shell actually keeps its shell is attached to it and grows it throughout its life. Another habitat on Dauphin Island where we can find crustaceans is actually in the salt marsh on the north side of Dauphin Island. And one of the most fun crustaceans that we find there are little grass shrimp. Now, you've maybe seen shrimp on your dinner plate before, but you've maybe never seen one swimming around. So I've got some in this tank here with those hermit crabs. And so what you can see are their eyes and just a little bit of their insides, but they are swimming around in there. Those are grass shrimp. These grass shrimp, the bigger ones in the tank, are as big as they are ever going to get. And actually, some of them are pregnant. And so if we look at some, like this one right here that has the kind of dark belly, those are eggs. So that is a female pregnant grass shrimp. She probably has 20 or 30 eggs there on her belly. And even though these shrimp are never going to get big enough for us to eat, there are lots of things in the marsh that do eat them. So they're a really important part of the food web that's in the salt marsh. So some things about crustaceans. So crustaceans, their body is covered in a hard covering. We call that an exoskeleton. And one of the cool things, and you guys maybe know this because it's similar to insects, right? Insects have a hard exoskeleton, and when they grow, what do they have to do in order to grow? They have to shed or molt that exoskeleton. And this crab here has actually had quite a few of his legs and his claws eaten off. I had a little crab in the tank with him that I didn't realize was in there, a little mud crab, and we'll get to him in a minute. And I did not realize that the mud crab had gotten so big, and he started attacking my little spider crab here. So, but thankfully, this spider crab is not going to have to live the rest of his life missing all of those appendages or legs. The next time he molts, he will grow those appendages back. So this guy's called a spider crab. He does kind of look spider-like, but he's really harmless. And I've been hand feeding him to make sure he does get to where he can molt and grow those appendages back. Now, a really common crustacean that we find around Mobile Bay, and one that's really important because a lot of people like to eat them, are the blue crabs. So I have a couple of blue crabs here, actually 3. One really big one that you can nicely see the coloration of a blue crab on. He's got those orange tipped claws, but you can see the blue color on the legs. You can see again those little antennae going in his little mouth parts, his little stalked eyes. And I will try to get him out. You guys may see me lose a finger right here on Facebook Live. So I'm going to try from the other way.
So while you're trying to get him out, Leah wants to know, how do you tell the difference between a boy and a girl shrimp?
A boy and a girl shrimp. Ooh, you look at their swimmers, but a boy and girl crab is a lot easier to tell. So this crab, I know Leah knows. It's a girl crab. And so if you look at her tail right there, folded up underneath her body, it's very round. And so that tells me that it is a girl crab. That's what she's going to use to hold her eggs with. So on a boy, that tail would be much narrower. But you can see that blue color. And you can see actually how yellow this one is. This is one maybe getting ready to molt here pretty soon. Her exoskeleton is getting kind of gnarly looking.
So when they molt, is that what you get, a soft shell crab?
Yes, absolutely. So you can see the little swimmers back there, the swimming legs that allow them to swim. So yes, when a blue crab sheds or molts, that exoskeleton is going to be soft for a couple days, and that's where we get soft shell crabs from. A lot of people think that a soft shell crab is like a unique species of crab, but they're just blue crabs that have molted. And
Julia, who is age 7, said I really like sea creatures.
Oh, good. I really do too, and that's why I became a marine biologist, was because I like the marine critters so much. So in this one here, this is the little guy who was attacking the spider crab. So that is what we call a mud crab. Maybe I can hold it up.
Yeah, there we go.
So that's called a mud crab. They don't get a whole lot bigger than that, but they do have really big, beefy claws that are very powerful. So these guys like to hide out in rocks, in crevices, under shells like he was doing in the tank just a minute ago. And then kind of the larger version of him is a true stone crab. And so that's what we have in the tank right next to him here. So this one is a stone crab. You can see the little spots on the carapace there on the back. This one is a female. We've had her in our tanks for quite a while. The light makes it a little bit hard to see, but that is a stone crab. So they have big, heavy, crushing claws. A lot of these crabs, like I was saying, blue crabs, especially around here, are an important fishery. But in Florida, stone crabs are. And so people will go out and harvest the crabs, but they actually just harvest the one big crushing claw, throw the rest of the crab back, and then they can repair through molting and grow that claw back.
We have a couple of quick questions.
Wonderful.
So Jace, who's 10, he wants to know, why are blue crabs blue?
Why are blue crabs blue? I'll tell you that they're not always blue. So blue is a pigment that they're able to make. And whether that helps them camouflage in some way, possibly. But when they're younger, they will actually look quite different. So we can take a look at some here. So this little guy that maybe won't pinch me is much darker than some of the others. They tend to be in the salt marsh at this size, hiding out in the mud. And so they will be much darker in color. And then I've got some others here that you can see the shell is a little bit lighter. I actually put some sand in here because oftentimes they will completely hide. We have to go on a little crab hunt every time we want to show the crabs to the kids in the tank because they hide down in that sand. They're very well camouflaged for hiding in the sand. But the blue crab, their scientific name is Calanectes sapidus, which means beautiful swimmer, but also savory because they are so tasty. So they are a swimming crab.
All right, and Sarah wants to know, how does it shed? How does a crab shed?
So they actually are able to pop that carapace. They have a kind of a seam on the back. Yeah, we can actually show off one of the exoskeletons here. So they actually pop this right here and will back out of their exoskeleton, and then they pump themselves up with water. So they'll do that to pop, but then they also want to fill all of that new space, so their new exoskeleton is bigger than that last one, and so they pump themselves with water until it hardens to make that newer, bigger shell.
And Sophia,
but it's controlled by hormones.
Sophia, age 8, would like to know how you hold a crab so that it won't pinch you.
Yes, and so I was holding that one. I won't take the time to pull it back out now, but it's holding it by those back, the joints right at the carapace of the back legs. So I always say, if you hold it like a sandwich, it'll eat you like a sandwich. But if you hold it by those back joints there on the back legs with your hand well to the back, then they can't get you. Or if you're really skilled, you can, of course, hold them by their claws, but that's a little more difficult.
And then Leilani wants to know, how strong is a stone crab?
Very strong. It could probably break my finger. I'm not sure. I fished them out with this little net here, but she was pretty smart and didn't clamp on because I think she knew I was trying to catch her. But really, really strong enough to crush oyster shells and things like that. Yeah.
Julia, 7, asks, how do you know if a female crab is pregnant?
So the eggs are actually on the outside. So you would see initially a big orange egg mass. So just like a chicken egg, those eggs are going to have little yolks, so they're going to be orange. And then as the little babies mature, they'll develop eyes, and that sponge, we call it, gets darker and darker, turns kind of really dark brown. But they are on the outside. So a lot like you can tell that those grass shrimp are pregnant because they're on the outside. You would be able to tell that way.
And we have, okay, so Isabel, Amelia, and Maylee all want to know how often a crab sheds its exoskeleton.
So it does vary throughout their life. When they are young, hi Isabel, Amelia, and Maylee. When they're really young, they molt a lot. But as they get older, it's less and less. But they're going to molt 18 or so times in their life.
Reese, who's 12, he wants to know, what is the biggest crab?
So the biggest crab is a Japanese spider crab. So we don't have those around here, but they are enormous. But the smallest crustacean is a crustacean that probably a lot of you guys at home know about. So a copepod is a crustacean, and you can see it with just your eye, but in order to see their one eye, you would need a microscope. And that is the character from SpongeBob, Plankton. He's a copepod, so they would be some of the smallest. But I did want to mention, if you want to find a crustacean in your backyard, you got to look for this guy. So this is an isopod. So this is a giant deep sea isopod. But what you guys could find maybe in your backyard under a rock or a log or something is his relative, a roly-poly. Roly-polies are isopods. They're just about the only crustacean that we would find on the land here. So I challenge you to go out and find a crustacean of your own in your backyard, the little roly-poly.
Alora, age 6, she wants to know, what do blue crabs eat?
Blue crabs will eat just about anything, including each other. So they're very aggressive. Certainly will eat each other, fish, other crabs. They'll eat anything that they can get their claws on. And actually what I'm getting ready to do is feed these guys. So they haven't eaten in a day or two, and so I was going to put a little bit of food in the tanks with these guys. And they may be scared, right? They're in a new environment. We may have to put them back in the tank in order for them to be interested in eating. Oh, but that guy is not too scared to eat. And I bet the one next to him won't be scared either, and you'll get the catch. Oh, come on. So I'm feeding these guys squid. We have squid for doing dissections with students, and so we use up the leftovers to feed our animals. And even the little grass shrimp love to eat these little bits of squid. And they'll each grab their own little bit. Possibly, again, they may be too scared to eat.
So as we watch them pick up their snacks, how many different species of crabs are on Dauphin Island?
Lots.
Do you know?
Lots of different species of crabs. I'm trying to think of ones that I don't have. So you guys may have been out hunting at night for ghost crabs. So that's one that I don't have here. Fiddler crabs we have at the salt marsh. So those are a couple more. We do get another species of hermit crab around here, the flat claw. And then the big red hairy, giant red. You'll have to ask the aquarist for that one. But we have quite a few different species of crabs, and then certainly lots and lots of crustaceans. We have many other species of shrimp, some that we call shrimp, but that aren't actually shrimp. And then sometimes we go to the beach and we find these guys that we call crabs, horseshoe crabs, but they're actually not crabs. They're not crustaceans. They're arthropods, but they're not crabs.
We can see those in the aquarium too.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
We'll have some of those tomorrow with Carissa.
Wonderful.
Solly, who's 4, she says hi, and she wants to know, what's the most common crab?
Probably the blue crab, or maybe hermit. There's a lot of those.
Let's see.
Yes, definitely depends where you are.
Delaney says hello to you, Joanne.
Hi, Delaney.
And Craig just told us you made Aubrey's day. She has a roly-poly farm.
Awesome. I am not surprised, Craig.
Brady wants to know, how did the mud crab eat the legs of the spider crab?
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't witness it, but I'm sure.
Micah, age 11, wants to know how stone crabs can break, or can stone crabs break metal?
I don't know about breaking metal, but they can break the things that they need to eat.
Let's see. Rose, who's 37, she said, what kind of crabs do our fried crab claws come from?
Fried crab claws. Around here, we hope that there are local blue crabs, but certainly we do import a lot of crab from other places, but they are very similar to our blue crabs. But the crab claws that you buy that are fried are blue crabs.
All right, one last question for you. Sabra, age 5, wants to know, why are they called horseshoe crabs if they are not crabs?
So they look pretty crab-like, right? They've got all the walking legs. They've got that exoskeleton. They're called horseshoe, right, because of the shape. But we call them horseshoe spiders. People may not love them as much, but they are more closely related to spiders than they are to crabs.
Well,
That was a good question.
Joanne, thank you so much for introducing all of our friends to crabs and crustaceans.
Yes.
Crabby crustaceans.
They get a bad rep, but some of them are quite aggressive. So, but
and
thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it.
And tomorrow we have
Yes.
Carissa is going to be talking about
Octopus, yes, over in the aquarium, and I'm sure that octopus will put on a good show for you guys. It's a very charismatic octopus.
Wonderful. Let's say goodbye.
Bye, guys.